In a quiet suburban neighborhood, the sun often painted the sky with brilliant hues at sunset. This was a place where neighbors shared friendly greetings and children played freely in the yards. Among them lived Karen, a resident known for her spirited nature and strong opinions. She had a lovely home, surrounded by vibrant flowers and well-kept greenery. What mattered most to Karen was her view of the tranquil lake beyond her garden, where she often enjoyed sipping tea on warm afternoons. Karen prided herself on her picturesque surroundings, and she frequently hosted gatherings for friends and family to enjoy the beauty of their community. However, she had recently become increasingly vocal about her concerns regarding the new privacy fence that her neighbor had erected. To Karen, the fence obstructed her view of the serene lake, something she cherished deeply. The atmosphere in the neighborhood began to shift as Karen expressed her dissatisfaction, visiting neighbors and sharing her grievances passionately. For her, the fence represented more than just an obstruction, it challenged her connection to the natural beauty around her. Little did she know that this desire to protect her view would lead her down a contentious legal path, a journey that would reveal not just her own beliefs but also uncover issues that ran deeper within their community dynamics. With tensions rising, the stage was set for an unexpected confrontation over property rights and personal views. As summer settled in, Karen's irritation grew stronger with each passing day. The 6-foot privacy fence erected by her neighbor, Mr. Thompson, loomed tall and imposing, cutting off her cherished view of the lake. What once felt like a serene escape from the bustle of life now seemed constricted and suffocating. The wood panels stood stark against the landscape, blocking the sunlight and casting long shadows over her blooming garden. Karen found herself glancing at the fence more often, imagining it as a barrier to her peace rather than just a neighbor's construction. Every time she sipped her tea on the patio, she felt the fence's presence looming over her enjoyment. "It completely ruins my view," she exclaimed to her friends during their afternoon visits. Her frustration turned into determination, and she decided to take action that would echo through the neighborhood. She began to rally support from other residents, sharing her feelings about how the fence affected not only her but also the community's shared beauty. Conversations turned heated as Karen described how the fence obstructed views of the lake that had drawn everyone to the area in the first place. With each conversation, she solidified her stance. She would not allow this structure to remain without a fight, setting the stage for a confrontation that could have lasting consequences for both her and her neighbor. As Karen's frustration reached its peak, she realized that simply discussing her grievances among friends and neighbors would not bring about the change she desired. The conversations had turned into whispers around the community, and she felt a sense of urgency to take a more formal stand against the privacy fence that loomed over her property. After much contemplation, she made the bold decision to pursue legal action against Mr. Thompson. Fueled by her desire to protect her view, or what she considered her right to enjoy her home, Karen sought advice from legal experts who could help her navigate the complexities of property law. She envisioned a courtroom battle where she would present her case passionately, arguing that the fence not only invaded her space but also detracted from the neighborhood's charm. In her mind, this was not merely about obstructed views, it was about community values and preserving the natural beauty that drew everyone to the area. With every step forward, Karen felt a mixture of hope and anxiety. She began drafting a complaint and collecting evidence to support her claims. As she prepared for this next chapter, she also braced herself for potential backlash from Mr. Thompson and others who might see her actions as extreme. Nevertheless, Karen was resolute. She would not back down without a fight, convinced that standing up for her beliefs was worth any cost, including the risk of alienating herself from her neighbors. While Karen prepared for her legal battle, Mr. Thompson reflected on the reasons behind his decision to build the privacy fence. Living next to a spirited neighbor like Karen had not always been easy. He valued his peace and privacy, especially after having faced some disturbances from parties and gatherings that sometimes spilled over from her yard into his. The 6-foot fence was not just a barrier, it was a source of comfort for him and his family. Mr. Thompson had spent considerable time and effort researching local regulations before constructing the fence, ensuring it met all requirements. He believed it would enhance both his security and the overall aesthetic of his yard. As whispers about the impending lawsuit reached him, he felt a mix of disbelief and determination. Why should he have to dismantle something built according to regulations simply because Karen was unhappy? He often thought about how both their homes contributed to the neighborhood's charm, but he also understood that everyone had a right to feel secure in their own space. In anticipation of the court proceedings, Mr. Thompson gathered evidence of compliance with zoning laws and sought advice on how best to defend his position. He knew he would need to present a strong case, not only for himself but also for others who valued their personal boundaries. As tension mounted, he prepared for what could become more than just a dispute between neighbors. It was rapidly evolving into a defining moment for both families involved. On the day of the court hearing, the atmosphere was tense as Karen and Mr. Thompson entered the small courtroom. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, illuminating the space where many disputes had been settled before. The wooden benches were filled with curious neighbors eager to witness the unfolding drama between the two residents. Karen sat nervously at her table, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She glanced at Mr. Thompson, who appeared calm and collected, flipping through his notes and reviewing his evidence. The judge entered, bringing a sense of order to the room, and everyone stood up in respect before taking their seats again. As proceedings began, Karen's attorney outlined her case, passionately arguing that the fence was an infringement on her right to enjoy her property fully. She could feel her heart race as she shared how much she valued her view of the lake and how it contributed to her happiness. Mr. Thompson's lawyer countered by presenting a detailed account of how the fence had been built within legal boundaries and was necessary for his client's peace of mind. He emphasized that by following all regulations, Mr. Thompson had acted responsibly. With both sides presenting their arguments, the tension in the room thickened. Neighbors exchanged glances, some in support of Karen while others sided with Mr. Thompson. As the judge listened intently, it became clear that this case would not only decide who was right but also impact relationships within their once peaceful neighborhood. As the courtroom proceedings continued, Mr. Thompson's lawyer prepared to present evidence that shifted the focus away from the privacy fence. With a clear and confident voice, he began by detailing Karen's pool deck, which had been constructed without adhering to the required setback regulations. He carefully outlined how the deck encroached upon nearby property lines, illustrating his points with photographs and legal documents. The lawyer displayed a series of photos on a screen that showed the pool deck's proximity to both Karen's property boundary and the neighboring lots. He emphasized that these violations not only affected Mr. Thompson but also posed risks to safety and aesthetics in their community. The tension in the room grew thicker as whispers spread among neighbors watching closely. Many were surprised to hear about this new angle. They had only been focusing on Karen's grievances with the fence. As Mr. Thompson's attorney continued, he referenced local zoning laws that clearly defined setback requirements for structures like pools and decks. If anything, he said, this case highlights how important it is for everyone to uphold community standards, something Mrs. Karen has failed to do. The judge listened intently, jotting down notes as he peered over his spectacles. The implications of this evidence cast doubt on Karen's position and made her struggle against significant community issues clearer. By unhappy coincidence, her pursuit of justice was now entangled with her own violations, leaving many to wonder what would happen next in this neighborly dispute gone legal. As the courtroom drama unfolded, the topic of setback regulations became increasingly important to the case at hand. Setback regulations are guidelines established by local zoning laws that dictate how far structures must be set back from property lines. These laws play a crucial role in maintaining not only safety but also the aesthetic appeal of neighborhoods. Mr. Thompson's lawyer took this opportunity to explain the rationale behind these regulations. He articulated that setbacks protect residents by providing essential space between properties, which can prevent overcrowding and ensure that each homeowner has adequate room for activities and landscaping. They help maintain sight lines, encourage greenery, and contribute to the overall charm of suburban living. By adhering to these rules, homeowners could build fences, decks, or other structures while enhancing both their own and their neighbors' enjoyment of their properties. In stark contrast, Karen's pool deck had violated these very laws, leading to potential safety hazards like blocked pathways or inadequate drainage. This non-compliance not only affected her neighbor but posed threats to community harmony and visual standards that everyone had worked hard to uphold. As the judge absorbed this information, it became evident that incorporating these regulations into daily life was essential for a thriving neighborhood. The presentation underscored how important it is for residents to respect shared guidelines. Otherwise, disputes like the one between Karen and Mr. Thompson could disrupt an otherwise peaceful community atmosphere. As the trial progressed, the judge listened carefully to the arguments presented by both Karen and Mr. Thompson. He leaned forward, resting his chin on his hands, as he weighed the points made by each side. Karen's attorney passionately argued that the fence obstructed her cherished view of the lake, framing it as a matter of personal rights and enjoyment of her property. The emotional weight of her words resonated with those in attendance, including some sympathetic neighbors who nodded in agreement. On the other hand, Mr. Thompson's lawyer countered with a logical appeal to the law and community standards. He emphasized that Karen's pool deck had violated setback regulations, pointing out how her actions undermined the very principles she now sought to defend concerning her own property rights. The judge took note of this contradiction, raising an eyebrow at Karen's apparent disregard for regulations while she claimed a right to her view. Throughout the proceedings, the judge exhibited patience, often asking clarifying questions to ensure he fully understood both perspectives. He appreciated Karen's passion but also recognized Mr. Thompson's need for privacy and safety. By considering their motives, Karen's desire for beauty and enjoyment against Mr. Thompson's right to a peaceful home, the judge aimed to find a fair resolution. As deliberations continued, it became clear that this case was not just about a fence or a view, it was about balancing individual rights with community harmony, a challenge that would require careful reflection before reaching a verdict. After thorough deliberation, the judge finally announced his ruling, which favored Mr. Thompson. He began by acknowledging Karen's heartfelt concerns about her view and the emotional distress caused by the privacy fence. However, he emphasized that the law must prevail and that individual rights come with responsibilities. The judge pointed out that while Karen valued her scenic view of the lake, her own construction of the pool deck had violated multiple setback regulations designed to ensure safety and aesthetic harmony within the community. "You cannot enjoy your rights at the expense of your neighbors," he stated firmly. He explained that these regulations were not arbitrary, they existed to protect the overall integrity of the neighborhood and to ensure that each resident considered the impact of their property on others. As he elaborated, he highlighted how Mr. Thompson had followed all rules and regulations in constructing his fence, illustrating a commitment to maintaining order and safety in their shared space. The judge acknowledged how difficult it was for Karen to lose her pool deck, but he reiterated that her actions had created a conflict that could not be overlooked. In closing, the judge ordered Karen to remove her pool installation, recognizing the financial burden it would place on her but reaffirming the necessity of adhering to community standards. As he banged his gavel, the weight of the decision hung in the air, marking a significant moment in the lives of both neighbors and the future of their community. As the judge's gavel echoed through the courtroom, a wave of disbelief washed over Karen. She sat frozen for a moment, processing the verdict that had just irrevocably altered her life. Her heart sank as she absorbed the implications of losing her case against Mr. Thompson. The disappointment gripped her tightly, and she felt a lump form in her throat as emotions swirled within her. Karen had poured her heart and soul into this fight, believing she was protecting not only her view but also her rights as a homeowner. Now, she faced the grim reality of removing her beloved pool installation, a space where she had created cherished memories with family and friends. The financial burden loomed heavily over her, thousands of dollars were now at stake for something that had once brought joy to her life. As she glanced around the courtroom, Karen noticed sympathetic expressions on some neighbors' faces who had come to support her. Their nods of understanding did little to ease her grief, instead, they reminded her how public this battle had become. She felt exposed and vulnerable, doubting whether she would be able to mend the rifts created during this ordeal. Karen's thoughts raced as she considered what this ruling meant for her future in the neighborhood. Would people see her differently? Would she lose connections with friends who sided with Mr. Thompson? A sense of isolation settled in, and she quietly exited the courtroom, feeling defeated yet determined to find a way forward despite the overwhelming sense of loss. In the days following the trial, the weight of the judge's ruling settled heavily on Karen's shoulders. She quickly realized that removing her pool installation would not only be a monumental task but also a significant financial burden. The estimate for dismantling the deck and restoring her yard to its original state came in at thousands of dollars, an expense she had not anticipated. As she sat down with her bills, Karen felt a deep sense of anxiety rise within her. The unexpected costs loomed like dark clouds over her financial situation, and she began to wonder how she would manage to pay for it all. With her savings already stretched thin, the thought of dipping further into her budget caused her stomach to churn. Karen also faced the daunting task of explaining this setback to her family and friends, who had supported her throughout the legal battle. She worried about their reactions and whether they would see this as a failure on her part. Would they still sympathize with her plight, or would they think less of her for losing? As the days turned into weeks, Karen felt increasingly overwhelmed by feelings of defeat and isolation. Her once vibrant backyard, the space that had been a sanctuary for family gatherings and summer barbecues, now felt like a painful reminder of what had been lost. Determined to navigate this challenge, Karen knew she must focus on finding solutions while grappling with the emotional aftermath of the ruling that had changed everything in her life. The fallout from the trial rippled through the neighborhood, altering relationships and changing the dynamics among residents. Once a close-knit community, the tension between Karen and Mr. Thompson now cast a shadow over neighborly interactions. Karen's desire to reclaim her view had sparked a legal battle, and with it, the conversations among neighbors turned wary and cautious. Many residents found themselves caught in the middle, unsure of how to navigate their loyalties. Some supported Karen, feeling sympathy for her plight, while others sided with Mr. Thompson, appreciating his commitment to maintaining community standards. This division led to hushed whispers during casual encounters and hesitant exchanges at local gatherings. As Karen grappled with her losses, she began to reflect on the importance of communication and understanding in a community. Her battles had drawn lines in the sand that made her reconsider how she approached her neighbors. Instead of rallying support against Mr. Thompson, perhaps a more constructive conversation could have prevented this conflict altogether. Moving forward, both Karen and Mr. Thompson faced the challenge of rebuilding trust within their community. The incident served as a reminder of the delicate balance between personal rights and collective responsibilities. With time, they would need to find common ground if they were ever to restore harmony in their once peaceful neighborhood. As Karen pondered her next steps, she realized that this experience would shape not only her relationship with Mr. Thompson but also her perspective on what it meant to be part of a community, one that thrives on cooperation rather than conflict. In the wake of the trial, both Karen and Mr. Thompson learned valuable lessons about communication, property rights, and the importance of respecting community rules. Karen's experience highlighted how essential it is to engage in open dialogue with neighbors before escalating grievances to legal battles. Had she sought a conversation with Mr. Thompson about her concerns regarding the fence, they might have reached a compromise that preserved both her view and his need for privacy. For Mr. Thompson, the case underscored the significance of understanding how his actions could impact his neighbors' feelings and perceptions. While he had the right to build a privacy fence, he now recognized that being a considerate neighbor involves more than just following regulations, it requires empathy and awareness of others' needs. The overarching theme from this conflict was the delicate balance between individual rights and communal responsibilities. Residents must be reminded that their property rights do not exist in isolation, they are intertwined with the well-being of their neighbors and the overall harmony of their community. Moving forward, fostering an environment where neighbors feel comfortable discussing their concerns openly will be crucial in preventing similar disputes. Ultimately, this experience served as a catalyst for reflection among all residents, encouraging them to prioritize cooperation over conflict. As Karen and Mr. Thompson navigated their new reality, they held the potential to redefine their relationships and contribute to a community that thrives on mutual respect and understanding, ensuring that future challenges are met with collaboration rather than division.